America's National Park of Speed, located just about an hour and a half northwest of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's the iconic Road America, 14 corners, just over 4 miles in length. One of the most unique challenges on the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tire Circuit. Long straightaways, hard braking, off-camber corners. This is one of the crown jewels of motorsports here in North America. Hello, race fans. My name is Rob Howden, joined today by IP2K driver Colin Kaminsky for Pabst Racing. Colin has an intimate knowledge in this racetrack, so we're going to use him here as part of our pre-race show. But fantastic event here. We're here, as always, with the NTT IndyCar Series. Those cars just finishing up a practice session. But Colin, we're getting set to go here with 3 races, 2 for USF2000. That's what we're going to roll out with here in about a half an hour's time. You get to run once here for Indy Pro 2000. But let's talk about this racetrack, because it really was where kind of you started your career, unlike so many drivers who came through karting. You jumped into SCCA here, the Spec Racer Ford event, but this is really your home racetrack. Yeah,
it's close to home. I'm from outside of Chicago. And yeah, this is where I got the start. Most kids, like you said, go through the karting ranks, and maybe they're doing, I don't know, 60 miles an hour. I don't even know how fast they go because I didn't do karting. But I jumped right into here, like you said, in the Spec Racer and went, I don't know, 130 miles an hour for my first race. So of course there was some practice beforehand, but yeah, it kicked off right here. So it's always fun to be back. I couldn't be happier to be back.
He's talking about the speed, and that's what we get here. This is probably the fastest circuit that we'll be on throughout the year. The big long straightaway out of turn 14, climbing the hill to turn 1 is crucial. Down into 2 and 3, then that big run from 3 down to 5, another downhill, hard braking into the left-hander. Same goes with through the carousel, on the throttle into the carousel, through the kink, which is always a gut check, down to Canada Corner. This track has it all. And there are, calling a lot of tracks we go to, like a Barber, like a Mid-Ohio, we don't have that long straightaway with a big hard braking.
Yeah.
We're going to get lots of overtaking this weekend.
Absolutely. I was just looking at some data traces from Barber as I'm sifting through my notebook, and I don't see any brake traces. It's mostly throttle lifting.
Right, yeah.
And like you said, there's going to be a lot of overtaking. This place, it races awesome. Talking to some drivers around the paddock, a couple of the kids coming over from Europe and wherever, talking about, how do you like this place, whatever. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, they better say something good. And one of the kids told me he just didn't like it. He was slightly bored. Just, you're going fast, but there is a lot of time between the corners. But he
probably hasn't raced yet.
He's not raced yet. That's the kicker, and that's what I told him. I was like, and now, if you're starting towards the back, you're gonna be busy when you're coming from the back. There's going to be a lot of passing, and this place you can get it done.
Yeah, qualifying crucial, obviously, number one, to start up front to stay out of maybe the chaos, but you can win from the back.
You can win from the back. Yeah. Daniel Frost beat me, an IndyCar driver by the name of Devlin DeFrancesco, in 2020, and he passed Devlin up the hill. I watched him go by me for third or second, and then I watched him pass Devlin at the line, and he started last. He started last and came back to win. It's doable.
I remember that.
Yeah.
He actually qualified on pole and had an issue and had to start at the tail of the field.
Yes.
But the speed is there. You can do it here because there's so many great overtaking opportunities here at Road America.
Yeah.
Obviously, Colin, having you here is fantastic. You, again, started your career here. One of the things is this is a tough track, as you mentioned, for people who have never been here before.
Yeah.
High speed, high commitment, and you have to be able to get aggressive on the overtake. We have a bunch of young drivers here in USF2000, rookies who have never been here before.
Yeah.
You remember your first time here, your first years when you started. What's this experience going to be like for the young rookies, first time they've been here?
It's weird. For me, it wasn't daunting just because, I don't know, it was just, I don't think you have any expectations when you're a rookie, so you don't understand. It's like guys who probably haven't hit the wall at Indy, running the 500. You just don't have expectations. It just hasn't happened to you yet. My first race lasted 3 corners, actually technically 2, because we didn't hit turn 3 yet. There was a 12-car pileup in Spec Racer, and my inexperience, I didn't avoid it so very well. So it didn't last long for me, and you learn from that very quickly on where car placement comes into, patience comes into, to try and navigate, like you said, maybe the chaos or whatever it might be.
Let's jump on what you think maybe are the primary passing opportunities. You can say 1, 5, Canada Corner for sure, all of them, right? But the one thing, let's let you talk a little bit about the fact that a pass in turn 1 doesn't happen in 1. It might happen, come a couple of corners earlier. This is a track where a pass at the end of a long straightaway is set up by better exit speed. Talk a bit about what you've got to do to get a pass, let's say, in turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And like everybody talks about how there's only 14 corners on this track, and they're all spaced out. It starts way earlier, like 2 miles before you make the pass, actually, because it could start on the back straightaway or the carousel. And where drivers start to learn when they're better than other drivers in other corners like you would normally do, that happens again, like just so much more spaced out. So the information comes at you slowly, so it's sometimes you even need to remember, okay, I'm better than him in this corner, and not forget by the time you get around, so that way you can set up a pass because you're better in the carousel.
That's it.
And then you roll through Canada better, and now you've got them set up by the time you get down to 1. And passing into 1 doesn't mean it's going to last by the time you get to turn 5. So it really, knowing when you can make the pass and then know where he struggles maybe, so now you can gap yourself or something, it all comes down to all those little intricacies.
I like that transition a little bit to strategy you said, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's
it's
one of
huge.
those things. Is this a racetrack where you want to lead on the last lap, right? Mid-Ohio,
Probably not.
Mid-Ohio, yes. Probably Barber.
Yeah.
Some of these tracks where you can stay out front and kind of defend, you can't defend here.
The straightaway it's just so far down. It's in the middle of the straightaway, and I think the straightaway, I'm not going to get technical with how long it is, but it's so long, and it's down the middle. So when you come out of turn 14, it is very possible. That happened in 2020 when Frost got Devlin on the line just by staying tucked up and then popping out right at the last second, and he just got the nose ahead at the line. And it's almost like an oval in that sense. So you might not want to be leading, but again, it comes down to understanding where your car's better, where you're better than your competitor, because maybe you are better out of 14 and you know, I need to be in the lead by the time I get to 14.
Quick little jump before we get out of here. Quick little jump on balance and compromise in terms of trimming a car out and having aero. Because a long straightaway, but there are some tighter stuff where you want to have mechanical grip.
Yeah, it's always a balance of both, right? You got to, like you said, you got to have the trim to get down the straightaway, but a lot of the time you do need downforce to be able to follow closely. Certainly in our series when we're dealing with a little bit more downforce. USF drivers, they can get away with it a little bit more, having it trimmed out. I know a lot of guys do. But yeah, it's a balance for sure to try and be able to get some clean air and be able to stay close in the corner so you can get them down the straightaway.
What I love about this racetrack doing this particular event in June is the fact that our rookie drivers have had a chance to get comfortable with the race cars, obviously. This is where we see rookies sometimes step to the forefront, like Thomas DeVoe last year as he was able to get a win here. This is a track, again, that starts the second half of the season. A big weekend here can push you where you need to be before we go to Mid-Ohio, before we go to Toronto, before we start looking at the finale at Portland International Raceway on Labor Day weekend. Of course, coming off what was a fantastic event at Indianapolis Raceway Park. That was the last race we were at. Michael D'Orlando was able to get the win on the oval there, the 5/8 mile oval. We come to a long racetrack here now. But before we jump into the action here today, let's have a look back at the Freedom 75. Just 2 days before the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500, the drivers from the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship took to the track for their own oval showdown just a few miles west of IMS at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Freedom 75 was part of the annual Card Night Classic on the banked 5/8 mile speedway, where the USF2000 drivers joined USAC's Silver Crown and Midgets on the night's dance card. For the second straight year, weather played a key role in the weekend as rain hindered the timing of Thursday's practice and qualifying, as well as the start time for the race on Friday night. A window of clear weather on Thursday provided the teams with a pair of 15-minute testing sessions ahead of single-car, two-lap qualifying. Cape Motorsports' Michael D'Orlando, last year's winner, proved that his domination last year was no fluke, as he again topped the time charts with an average speed of 110.194 miles per hour to start in the front row of the 75-lap race alongside D-Force's Bajoy Garg. Rain hit the track on Saturday afternoon and pushed the start of the Freedom 75 to later in the evening, and the drivers delivered yet again with a caution-free green-to-checker race that was led from start to finish by D'Orlando. Last year's series runner-up was chased all race long by Garg, taking a slim victory that has vaulted D'Orlando to the lead in the championship by 17 points over Pabst Racing's Miles Rowe, who finished third. Pabst Racing's Jace Denmark finished third last year and was fourth this time around, while Cape Motorsports' Jagger Jones was fifth in his first Road to Indy Oval event, counting as the highest finishing rookie as well. The series now turns its focus back onto a natural terrain road course for the annual trek to Wisconsin and the iconic Road America facility on the June 10, 11, 12 weekend.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper. It's your Uncle Cooper. Sure, once in a blue moon, you might need your tires for hauling a horse in a hailstorm. But most days, you're gonna need your tires for tougher things, like teaching your sister's kid how to parallel park. Thankfully, these Cooper and Duramaxes aren't just tough, they're everyday tough. Okay, there's a lot of improvement. Go with the Coopers. Cooper! It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
It's your Uncle Cooper. If you and your truck are constantly tackling the regular duties of the day, go with a tire that can handle them all. Oh, man. I stepped in it. Go with the Coopers.
Just 2 days before the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500, the drivers in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship took to the track for their own oval showdown just a few miles west of IMS at Lucas Oil Indianapolis Raceway Park. The Freedom 75 was part of the annual Card Night Classic on the banked 5/8 mile speedway, where the USF2000 drivers joined USAC's Silver Crown and Midgets on the night's dance card. For the second straight year, weather played a key role in the weekend as rain hindered the timing of Thursday's practice and qualifying, as well as the start time for the race on Friday night. A window of clear weather on Thursday provided the teams with a pair of 15-minute testing sessions ahead of single-car, two-lap qualifying. Cape Motorsports' Michael D'Orlando, last year's winner, proved that his domination last year was no fluke, as he again topped the time charts with an average speed of 110.194 miles per hour to start in the front row of the 75-lap race alongside D-Force's Bejoy Guard. Rain hit the track on Saturday afternoon and pushed the start of the Freedom 75 to later in the evening, and the drivers delivered yet again with a caution-free green-to-checker race that was led from start to finish by D'Orlando. Last year's series runner-up was chased all race long by Guard, taking a slim victory that has vaulted D'Orlando to the lead in the championship by 17 points over Pabst Racing's Miles Rowe, who finished third. Pabst Racing's Jace Denmark finished third last year and was fourth this time around, while Cape Motorsports' Jagger Jones was fifth in his first Road to Indy Oval event, counting as the highest finishing rookie as well. The series now turns its focus back onto a natural terrain road course for the annual trek to Wisconsin and the iconic Road America facility on the June 10, 11, 12 weekend. First spot, row number 10, we'll see Evagoras Papasavas for Jay Howard Driver Development. His debut weekend here on the road to Indy. The rookie in the number 6 starting 20th alongside Jacob Douglas, the Kiwi out of New Zealand for Exclusive Autosport in the number 90. Douglas and Papasavas on row 10. Row 9, we'll see Nick D'Orlando, one of the two D'Orlando brothers. First time we've had siblings racing here on the road to Indy over the 13 years of this program. D'Orlando for VRD Racing started the season in USF Juniors. Driver to Hartsdale, New York, making his debut here this weekend. He'll launch from the 18th position. Alongside him, out of California, in the number 5 machine, Huntington Beach, the home for Nikki Hayes, the rookie for Cape Motorsports. The number 5 starting 17th inside of row number 9. We'll go to row 8, and it's all turn 3 Motorsports on the outside from St. Louis, Missouri. The number 33, it's Spike Kohlbecker. And on the inside from Naperville, Illinois, it's Christian Weir in the number 32. Keep an eye on both those drivers to charge their way forward here in the opening laps. Row number 7 on the outside, driver who won here last year at Road America, so expect more out of Thomas Naveau. Not a great qualifying effort for the D-Force driver, but he has the racecraft to fight his way forward as well. Naveau in the number 10 starting 14th. Inside, solid qualifying effort for the Mexican Jorge Garcias, the rookie in the number 9 for Jay Howard Driver Development. His best qualifying position of the year. He'll start in 13th. Row number 6 on the outside, Garcias' teammate Danny Dazelski, just 14 years of age, the rookie in the number 8 machine, made his debut at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He'll start 12th alongside Avon, Indiana's Jackson Lee for Cape Motorsports in the number 2. Cars now rolling out here onto pit lane from the pre-grid area. We'll move now into the top 10. On the outside, it will be Bejoy Garg in the number 12. Garg for D-Force Racing in the 12, starting on the outside. Moving into the next row, it will be Trey Burke in the number 63. Working our way forward here again. Nikita Johnson starting on the inside of row number 4. Nikita just 14 years old. This is his very first USF2000 race, frontrunner in the USF Juniors program for VRD Racing. Solid qualifying efforts for the young driver out of Florida. Johnson, the number 17, starting 7th. We'll go down to row number 3 on the outside. Dylan Christie, the number 11 for D-Force Racing. He'll start 6th spot alongside him. Driver coming in 2nd place in points. 2 wins on the year so far. That is Miles Rowe for Pabst Racing in the number 22. Miles out of New York, New York. He's had a strong start to the season. Rowe starting on the inside of row number 3. Row 2, 3rd-generation driver looking to keep that name up front. It's Jagger Jones, the grandson of Parnelli Jones, son of P.J. Jones. So much experience. The iconic Jones name here at Road America. Jagger for Cape Motorsports. A winner already this year. Comes in sitting 3rd in points. He'll start P4 outside of row 2. Inside, a driver who's had a strong start to the season here. Very consistent. That is Billy Fraser, the number 92 in the Giltrap Corpay machine for Exclusive Autosport. Billy Fraser in the 92 starting 3rd, but with 21 drivers in the field, we'll put 2 on the front row. Off pole out of Arizona in the Radford Racing School, number 23 for Pabst Racing, Jace Denmark, winner of the opening round of the season at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. He comes in 5th place in points, just 32 markers back. And the guy that they will chase down into turn number 1 has had a strong start to the season. Very consistent. Finally getting that first win of the year. Last year's USF2000 runner-up in the championship, Michael D'Orlando from Hartsdale, New York. Winner at the Freedom 75 at the Indianapolis Raceway Park. The oval race just a couple of weeks ago. The Cape Motorsports driver starting pole with a 210.743. And he has that momentum. Eric, you talk about it all the time. The Big Mo, you call it. Momentum key right now for D'Orlando.
Well, absolutely. And, just trying to rebound earlier in the season, of course, you have so many podium finishes, to start the season. And then you kind of have a little bit of a disaster at Indianapolis and picked right back up where they left off. It was kind of an anomaly, and obviously just kind of continuing to build into a points leading position and getting the pole. That's another bonus point. We see how close these championships usually end up to come down to. This momentum in qualifying, and certainly he's got to get it done in the race now.
Really, the only chink in the armor for Michael D'Orlando was contact with he and Miles Rowe in the opening race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, ended up finishing 21st. That's why he rolls in with a 17-point lead. Big points coming from that win at Indianapolis Raceway Park on the oval. But a doubleheader here today. In fact, 2 races here for the drivers today in USF2000. So you kind of have to be smart and make sure you don't wreck your car. You don't want your guys to be working hard all day to try to get it ready for this afternoon. Good to get 2 races in the books. We do have a guest joining us here in the booth here at Road America for this particular event, and it's a driver who has worked his way through USF2000, now one of the drivers looking for a race win in Indy Pro. Jack William Miller for Miller Vinatieri Motorsports with Exclusive Autosport. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's awesome to have you here, my friend. Let's talk about this. You've run a bunch of races here before in USF2000, Indy Pro. When you were in here at USF2000, when you were 14 years of age, when you first started, what were your thoughts beginning these races?
I mean, it's tough going out there and just starting out, and this is a big track to be on for a lot of people.
What about the high speeds as well? Like this is probably the fastest track we go to all year.
Yeah, for sure. It's a big commitment track, and you go down in turn 1 starting 2 wide, and it ends up being 3 or 4 wide, and you have to go in there in 4th and 5th gear and really have to send it up the inside. So it's a hard turn to do.
So what is the key to success then here? Do you have to have some patience? You know, I talked to Colin Kaminsky in the pre-show. There's so many places to overtake here. The long straightaways, the hard braking. You can come from the tail in the opening lap. Is it all about patience? I know it's hard for a driver to have that.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to make it a whole lap here without getting into it. I know last year we saw in the race a lot of front wings get knocked off here. But really, I think if they can make it through a lap, and then the draft plays a big role here as well. So it's a great track for racing.
There it is. Patience, patience, patience. We don't want to lose any of those front wings. Drivers on the reconnaissance lap around the racetrack right now as we get set to go. It'll be a 12-lapper here, our shortest amount of laps, Eric, but at just over 4 miles in length. That's about all we can do in our timeline.
You know, absolutely. And not only that, but fuel consumption wise, you got to be careful with what you've got. We saw a couple of teams that were playing with a little bit of fuel mileage on Thursday in the test day, kind of running their tanks dry, seeing what they've got.
Yeah, that's all. It plays key for qualifying. You want the car to be as light as possible. But again, 21 drivers set to go here, the very first rung of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. All the drivers chasing after the $365,000 plus scholarship that will allow them to make the jump up into Indy Pro 2000 in 2023. And again, a tremendous field of competitors here at the iconic Road America. We'll say hello to those of you tuned into the Road to Indy TV app or on the Road to Indy TV YouTube channel or potentially on USF2000.com. A lot of different avenues to be able to watch the live coverage that we have through Road to Indy TV. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, if you're around the racetrack and you want to continue to follow these young drivers as they try to follow in the footsteps of Pato O'Ward, Renus VK, all the drivers who have worked like Kyle Kirkwood up through the ranks into the NTT IndyCar Series, go to the App Store or Google and download the Road to Indy TV app. Full coverage, all the interviews that we do, all the content that we produce, and all the live broadcasts and live timing, all available for the app on your mobile device. Again, set to go here. D'Orlando and Denmark will be on row 1. Fraser and Jones, row 2. Rowe and Christie, row 3. Johnson and Burke, row 4. Garg and Brienza, row 5. Lee and Dzelski, row 6. Garcias and Neveau, row 7. Weir and Kohlbecker on row 8. Hayes, D'Orlando, row 9. Douglas and Papasavas, row 10. And Anderson on row 11. Again, field now coming up out of Canada Corner and Billy Mitchell Band. The pace car will head on in, and it's in the hands now of Michael D'Orlando, a track he loves here at Road America. Let's see what happens from the outside. We're rolling some pretty good speed through 4 already. Jace Denmark will cuddle up alongside him. The rest of the field got to get up there and get into groove. You don't want to be too far back at the start. The climb up the hill, though, crucial. They'll crest the hill and look for Aaron Likens to give us that green as we get set to go racing for the first of 4 Road to Indy races here this weekend. Field looks good. Coming up the hill, we're at it. Green, green, green. Racing in USF2000, and it's the big, long run down the front straightaway here at Road America. Will they go 2, 3, potentially 4 wide? Count it 4 wide, a little further back. Big start, and the driver going to the lead is Billy Fraser. Fraser's gone to P1 from third. Great start for Fraser, the exclusive Autosport machine. He'll lead it and run the wide line coming into turn number 3. Right there, D'Orlando sliding into second. The remainder of the field coming through cleanly. Eric, strong start there for Billy Fraser.
Well, absolutely, and he's shown pace all weekend long thus far, as is Jace Denmark. Surprised that Denmark didn't get quite as good of a lift on power coming underneath the bridge to the starter stand. D'Orlando kind of got sleeping a little bit into turn 1.
Jack William Miller talking all about potentially losing wings. Here we are diving hardcore to turn number 5 right now, that opening lap. Everybody trying to be smart, give each other room. Back up the hill, you can see the front group is stretched away a little bit. You'll get that as it gets a little crazier midway through. You can see 2 wide coming through turn number 6, the blind left-hander at the top of the hill under the Corvette bridge. You've got to go single file back through turn number 7. One driver quite a bit back there after some contact. Couple of dive bomb moves down the bottom in turn number 8. Yeah, a lot of action here in this opening circuit. And Eric, you've called a lot of races here. This is what you get. The opening lap, they're really one of the best opportunities to get some overtakes done. Well,
you got to make the hay while the sun shines, so to speak, here in America's Dairyland. But you've got to get your elbows up a little bit. And Jack, I would imagine here on the starts, you don't want to be too elbows up. You got to be patient. You got to keep the wings on the car, but at the same time, there's got to be that anticipation of energy just to get going.
Oh, of course, and the cars are heavy, so you're bottoming on all the curbs and really just trying to make up what you can, because once it gets set in, it can turn into single file. So you're trying to work and get all your passing done right away.
You see a bunch of moves, though, jacked out to the inside here where you show a nose to somebody. When you're doing that, it's kind of a half move, right? You're not getting it done. Are you trying to shake them up a little bit? Is it playing the head game a bit?
Yeah, of course. You can't always make those moves, and if you do, you will end up running into them, but it's more of being in their mirrors and trying to force them to miss an apex or something that can set you up for the next straightaway.
Yeah, it's not just about speed. It's about strategy. It's about playing the mental game. It's about working over the driver in front of you. Billy Fraser will lead the opening lap here, the number 92. Miles Rowe sliding into second. Michael D'Orlando third. And here's D'Orlando looking to the inside of Rowe in 1. Not quite. D'Orlando, who started on the poles, fall back into that third spot. He's starting to show a little bit of anxiety, wants to push his way forward. D'Orlando in third, Denmark fourth, Dylan Christie up to fifth on the opening lap. And again, they're side-by-side racing through turn number 3. D'Orlando on the outside, Rowe on the inside. Hold your breath, Eric, through that corner side by side.
And that's one of those corners where it looks a lot wider than it really feels sometimes in the cockpit, and you get a really good run on the outside. The problem is getting yourself out of position when you come back through into turn 5.
Big battle and further back, Jace Denmark in the 23 and Dylan Christie going at it. There's a run there with Burke and Lee. Trey Burke having a good run here, the number 63 for Joe Dueling Autosport with Kerb Agajanian. Burke, again, we've talked about him a little bit throughout the season. Here's a guy that, just a couple of years ago was running dirt sprint cars, decided he wanted to go road racing, learned a ton last year, and has really kind of stepped things up here in 2022 as well. His best qualifying effort for Burke. Again, qualified up into the top 10, P8, now runs 7th. So the number 63 having a good run there in his battle with Jackson Lee, the Cape Motorsports driver. But again, Fraser leading the way again, coming out of the carousel.
It was so impressive in qualifying for Fraser. He just showed a lot more pace in that Q1 session than we had seen him. And even in Q2, he showed extremely good pace, consistent throughout the entire run. I would look for him to kind of take care of the tires now that he's out front a little bit.
Yeah, exactly that. Again, and good speed through testing as well. May have had some contact further back in a couple of drivers down in the kettle bottoms. We'll see if we can. We're not going to pick it up at any other camera angles we have. We'll see if we end up going full course yellow. We may have had contact down in kettle bottoms. You can see that in the back part of the screen there, but we still are racing green up front here right now. No, full course yellow being thrown at start finish here indeed. Contact between a couple of drivers further back. We'll be able to figure out who it is. Guys who have fallen to the tail of the field. Yeah, there's a couple drivers together. One of them potentially Jagger Jones. Ivagor's Papa Savas, and unsure who the other driver is. Looks to be Jones is coming back across the line, so we're going to see who falls to the tail here. Papa Savas, one of the drivers involved, and it may just be one car there.
Yeah, it looked like one car spun around. It looks like they made some wheel-to-wheel contact there, and there's a little bit of a zoom in. look there, but definitely Papa Zavas, looks like the only car stranded out on the race course. Everybody else coming back through to the stripe. Brienza did not start, left on pit lane.
Yeah, well, we'll see Joey. He's only doing one race this weekend. We'll see Joey Brienza in race number 2, trying to keep his rookie status. We ran one race at Indianapolis. We'll run one race here and one race at Portland as well. Wants to run for that Rookie of the Year next year. Jack, let's come back to you. We're on the yellow here right now. I want to talk a little bit about the carousel because it's a crucial corner. People don't realize how tough it is. Kind of off camber, you're rolling on that throttle. How much different is the carousel? Full tanks, good tires at the start, to empty tanks and maybe used up tires a bit at the very end.
I almost have to look at the carousel as 2 different turns from when you're out by yourself and you're low on fuel and good tires. It's nearly flat out for us, and I'm sure it's the same for USF. But then when you at the start of the race and you're stuck up behind somebody, it's a completely different turn, and you're just trying to survive so you can get the draft down the back straightaway.
And let's talk about that. One of the things about USF2000 and Indy Pro is, of course, an open-wheel car. We rely a lot on downforce. In Indy Pro, a lot more downforce from the wings than in USF2000. But the minute you get behind somebody in that corner, you lose all the air off the front wing, and the thing just wants to push out on you. What do you do? You got a lot of wheel in it. Do you have to just get off the throttle and and keep the tires underneath it?
Yeah, you're modulating, and then you can also run a bit of a lower line than another guy to try and look for clean air. I'd almost compare it to like turn 1 and turn 2 at Lucas Oil Raceway. That
really
you can run a lower line in order to get that clean air and try and slingshot off the turn and be able to get a run on the car in front.
Indeed, the carousel is such a crucial part of this racetrack. We saw that the safety team grabbing the car of Ivagoras Papasavas, a tough debut for the young driver who was sidelined for the start of the season after an injury in a karting event late in the season. Was super excited to get back here to Road America, and we'll run the remainder of the season here with Jay Howard Driver Development. And of course, we'll do a full campaign in 2023. So Papasavas falls to the order. I'm not sure what happened to Jagger Jones there as well. Started P4. And Eric down into 19th. That is a tough result for the driver who comes in here P3 in points.
Not sure if he had a little bit of a off over in turn 3 at the start, but he was dropped like a brick really quickly at the start of this race. So evidently he probably had a little bit of an O&O somewhere in the first half of the race course, because after lap 1 he was already back through the field.
Let's give you a full field rundown. Those of you who are watching online, Billy Fraser able to go to the lead on the opening lap, got a good tow down the front straightaway and put the exclusive Autosport car down to the bottom of the racetrack. Miles Rowe running in second, Michael D'Orlando in third, Jace Denmark P4, Dylan Christie in fifth, Nikita Johnson runs sixth, Trey Burke seventh, Jackson Lee, Bajoy Garg, and Thomas Naveau rounding out the top 10. Nicky Hayes, who started back in 17th, a good run for him early on up to 11th. Danny Dzelski runs in 12th. Nicholas D'Orlando as well. He started 18th. He's up 5 spots into 13th for D'Orlando. So both D'Orlando and Hayes, I'm sure, happy as we press the reset button and restack them here. Give them an opportunity to potentially get a couple of spots again. Christian Weir runs in 14th. Spike Kohlbecker 15th. Jorge Garcia's in 16th spot. Jacob Douglas up to 17th. Victor Anderson 18th. Jagger Jones still on track at 19th. As we know, Ivagoras Papasavas out of this race as 3 laps go in the books under yellow here now. But again, Billy Fraser out front. That was a start you and I talked about. Anywhere, in the front 2 rows, front 3 rows, you can stay out of trouble. Front 2 rows, you can lead into turn number 1 because it's such a long run from the start-finish down to turn number 1.
Well, again, we always talk about controlled chaos a little bit, and I'm sure Jack understands that. You got to put yourself in position, early on in qualifying, setting the pace, getting in those first 2 rows. We've seen that, 2-3 rows. Once you get to 4th row on back, it's extremely difficult just to get position going into turn 1 because you're going so much faster into turn 1 here at Road America.
Well, hold on. We'll bring Jack in. We just talked about the front 3 rows as being where it's a good place to be. Jack starts on row 4. Yeah. Sorry, Jack. 7th place starting spot for you. I think USF2000 more than Indy Pro in terms of chaos, right? You guys are veteran drivers. You give each other room. You're not going to see that mid-pack kind of rookie mistake. You guys obviously with a lot of experience. P7 starting spot. What are your thoughts?
This is a very special track with what you guys were talking about, such a long run down into turn 1. I'd say most tracks reward qualifying on pole, but this is one track where you're kind of a sitting duck out there.
You are.
But I think I can work from P7. I know a lot of guys in here, they made it through a first their first lap clean. So hopefully it goes the same way for us.
Well, and the question, too, and I ask all the drivers, right, if you qualify on the pole, it's not that you really had, not always here at this track that you had blindly outright speed. You may have had that magic lap, right? You get 3 big toes here. You can be the slowest driver on the racetrack and qualify on pole because you get the toes. Overall, are you happy with your car on older tires, when we go racing?
I'm extremely happy. We were held up in qualifying, and so that P7 doesn't reflect where I think that the speed is, and
right.
I've been able to in practice pass a lot of cars, which we've seen some good moves in this race.
So wherever you are on the racetrack, keep an eye out for the red number 40. You're saying it's coming to the front?
Red 40 to the front.
Red 40 to the front. The Patterson Dental Machine for Jack William Miller, Miller Vinatieri Motorsports with Exclusive Autosports. Let's talk about that. One of the things, as we're on yellow still, I've talked about this throughout your entire career, the fact that you've been a single car. You've been by yourself. It's just been you with the team. You haven't had that opportunity to overlay the data with somebody else. Your dad, Jack Miller, put the program together with Exclusive Autosport. Now you're in the data debrief room with Louis Foster and whoever it may be, Wyatt Prokopchik this weekend. How's that been for you to get a chance to see extra data?
It's been great. I'd gone over a year without seeing anyone else's video or data, and so then finally being able to join a team that runs up front and get the setups and everything like that, it's been huge. And as you can see, like in USF2000, the Cape team, they're a powerhouse, and you can always expect to see them up front.
Yeah.
But sometimes the single car teams you see struggling a bit.
Let's talk about the race you had at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course. Nowhere to go in the opening race. You get caught up. You start up front in the race number 2. Your teammate actually gets in. You both go out, but you guys had a really strong run in race number 3. Obviously great to finish off the weekend, but to be on the podium in Indianapolis, pretty big too.
Yeah, it was really big for the team and for my sponsors, especially being at home.
Yeah.
That's my home track. I've grown up there, so that place is special.
We're back to green flag racing, and away we go to put lap number 4 in the books. Green flag flies. They come up the front straightaway. Billy Fraser, you mentioned sitting duck, and indeed, here comes Rowe to the outside. Miles Rowe going to go side by side with Fraser as they work their way up now into turn number 1. Back to racing here with still 7 laps remaining. And inside goes Fraser. Outside is Rowe. Little side-by-side run. This will be the big drive down the hill under the bridge back to turn number 3. They got to be smart up front. Fraser still leads. Rowe runs second. D. Orlando in third. Denmark fourth. And Dylan Christie in fifth. Eric, I held my breath for that one because a great opportunity to overtake on a restart like that.
And Miles trying to capitalize on the restart there. Got a great run with a little bit of toe down the straightaway. But again, that's where, in this case, the long straightaway kind of hurt him because he opened the door and Denmark and Orlando kind of started to show their noses inside the mirrors, and that's where contact in turn 5.
Oh, it's Trey Burke involved in that one in the Curb Aga JD and Joe Dueling Autosport car. Front wing of another car coming off. Who was he racing around there? Maybe Jack Zalier, Bajoy Garg. We'll see who it was. There was contact down. You can see the wing on the outside there, so a driver is on the outside of that corner, turn number 5. And that actually might be, that's actually Trey's front wing. So Trey Burke, someone getting into the back of him and around he went. Tough one for Trey, who was running in 7th. What a shame. Best we've seen Trey run, but he'll have another shot to do it this afternoon. Ooh, how you like that battle, Eric, between Denmark in the 23 and Dylan Christie in the 5 side-by-side through the carousel. But again, full course yellow, I'm assuming, for the wing on the racetrack.
Yeah, and you look at a situation like this, I think, you get all that energy, all that anticipation for the initial start. You get bound up after lap 1 with a local yellow, and then you're under yellow for 3 laps, and then again the anticipation builds, and you get a little antsy, and I think that's where we see a little anxiety in the middle of the pack. That's the chaos of being mired in the middle.
And the cliche, right? Cautions breed cautions. It happens. When you stack them back up, there's that opportunity to overtake, especially down in 5. It's the big run down. And one of the things about 5, we can bring Jack in to talk a little bit about this. What I find interesting about that corner, every time I've driven here, it's a downhill corner. Super, super fast downhill. So you kind of have to lengthen that braking zone, right? Otherwise, you find yourself going off. How tough is it to really maximize braking into turn number 5?
It's definitely a hard thing to judge because you're braking so deep into the turn, and then the track almost comes to you a bit. So you're not braking your car's straight, but the track is not straight there.
Right,
so it even narrows it even further for a passing car.
Is it one of the toughest parts of this racetrack, Jack? If you were to look around all the 14 corners, if there's one corner you're like, man, this is one that took me a long time to get right, is it 5?
I would say so, because you immediately go up a hill, so that not only do you have to carry a lot of speed in there and defend from cars behind, but you have to get a good exit, or else you will get killed up going up that hill.
And it's give and take, right? You're like, okay, if I went a little, if I broke a little harder, I'd be able to rotate and get back on the throttle earlier. But the minute you do that, someone's coming up the inside of you.
Yeah, and those outside curves there are very, very tempting. But if you get too far out on them, then it's you're leaving the door open for a car.
Jack William Miller from Miller Vinatieri Motorsports joining us here in the booth. Rob Howden alongside Eric Miller here, the voice of the Road America facility. And again, another yellow flag, 5 laps in the books. Billy Fraser continues to lead. Miles Rowe challenged him on the restart. He holds on to second. Michael D'Orlando in third. Jace Denmark and Dylan Christie. Denmark in the black 23 and Christie in the blue and white, the number 11 for D-Force Racing, going at it for P4. They were side by side coming into 5. Thomas Naveau has worked his way up into 6th position. Naveau started back in 14th, 8 position advancement for Naveau, who won here last year, so he's had some success here at Road America. Bajoy Garg runs in 7th. 8th is Jackson Lee. 9th is Nicky Hayes. Hayes started deep in the field in 17th. He's up into 9th. So these drivers taking full advantage of the issues. Christian Weir as well up into 10th. And Eric, you were pointing out one of the drivers involved. That it might have been Burke and Johnson that got together. Burke falling to the tail of the field, but as did Nikita Johnson, the young 14-year-old, getting some contact with Burke. Tough. Both those drivers would have had strong top 10 finishes, I think.
Absolutely strong contenders here for a good points position. But you look at the overall flow of this racetrack too, and just the start stop like this, it kind of plays with you a little bit. And going back to your conversation about turn 5 where the contact occurs, that the racetrack seems so wide, coming underneath the bridge, and then you have that little bit of a kink out, and then you kink back in, and under braking, you're looking, at your braking point or marker, whatever you've decided for yourself is going to be your brake point, and the corner's coming right up on you, and it comes up pretty quick. And I think that's where a little bit of times when you're side by side with somebody, it catches you out because you feel like you're getting squeezed a little bit when that little kink comes back to the left. So you kind of adjust and you come to the right, and that's usually where somebody else is going to be
already
parked in your mirror.
Yeah, we've seen that happen many times here where somebody's on the outside or the right side of a driver, and it does open up once you get down into that apex zone, get the thing rotated and back up the hill. And as Jack said, you don't get a good run out of turn number 5, someone's going to come up the inside of you into turn number 6, and that's when things get super dicey. Top of the hill, the blind left-hander through 6 over to turn number 7. Field circulating its way around here under yellow for the second time, and we'll have, I believe, 7 laps to go. It'll be 6 to go when we come back to the stripe. I don't know whether or not we're going to go back to green this time by. We'll have a look to see if the pace car does pull off.
Gapping there, yeah.
Lights look to be out, yeah. And I think Billy Fraser ready to jump on the loud pedal as he works his way up through Billy Mitchell Bend over to turn number 14. We're going to go back to racing. Indeed, we are. Fraser stacking him up a little bit. Here he jumps on the throttle. Let's see what happens with Miles Rowe again. This is a huge long straightaway. Great opportunity. He'll drive to the inside to try to break the draft a little bit. Coming up the front straight. Down to the bottom of the racetrack, making Rowe go to the outside. He's got a little bit of gap this time, but again, it's such a long run down to turn 1. Rowe's going to tuck out to driver's left to see if he can't go around the outside. D'Orlando thinking about making it 3 wide. Can't quite hold it. And again, to the outside goes Rowe. He had a pretty good run out there. He may have taken the lead coming down in. I believe indeed Miles Rowe has gone to P1. So Rowe the leader. Fraser goes into second. D'Orlando third. The D-Force cars of Christie and Naveau side by side through turn number 3. And man, I don't know if we've ever seen so much side-by-side racing through 3. These guys are aggressive. We're 2 wide further back as well for about 3 rows. Up front, though, D'Orlando is going at it here now with Billy Fraser. Fraser on the inside, D'Orlando on the outside, side-by-side through that corner as well. 3 wide further back. Wow, 3 wide. Oh, someone up over the top of the rumbles there. That might have been Christian Weir. I'll tell you, elbows up right now here in USF2000. Miles Rowe using it to stretch away. I think Fraser's gone to P3. It looks to me like Denmark may have got by Michael D'Orlando.
You look at Rowe's pass on the outside of turn 1, kind of sets that up. But what you're doing is he's squeezing down a little bit at the center of the apex into turn 1, making sure that he's got plenty of racing room. And Fraser kind of tiptoed a little bit into turn 1, and it cost him the spot.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it. You're a sitting duck. Even Jack said it. If you're starting on pole here on a restart, there's a very good chance you're going to get overtaken. It's such a long draft run. You get around the outside. Leader's got to block to the inside. You got to run defensive, which means you're not going to get a good run out of turn number one anyways because you've given up that exit. So really right now with lots of time to go, Fraser's just going to settle back in. He's got Denmark right there, but I'll say this. We talked about Pabst Racing. Their shop not too far from here in Oconomowoc. This is the track where the Pabst family, Augie Pabst 1, 2, and 3 have all been here before. This is a track they want to win at. They're 1 and 3 right now.
Looking at Rowe's lead, he's kind of pulled a little bit of a gap here. So Fraser maybe holding him up a bit, on that last half a lap before the second yellow. So Rowe able to kind of pull out here. Do you really want to get too far out, by yourself with a freight train behind you here? That's the question with these 3 long straightaways. The toe is an advantage for those in the draft. If you kind of mind the gap a bit, do you want to get too far out?
Well, I talked to Colin Kaminsky. We had him on the pre-show for the race here today, and I asked him, do you want to be P1 on the last lap? He said, I do not want to be P1 because he was here sure. when we had that battle 2 years ago. Daniel Frost, himself, and Devlin DeFrancesco were battling an Indy Pro 2000. Frost was going to start on pole, but got DQ, started the draft. That was another off for Christian Weir. He's been pushing turn 5 hard. He's the driver that a lap and a half ago went off in turn 5, did the same thing there, way on the other side of the rumbles. Jack, you talked about this. You do not want to go on the far side of those rumbles because there's a grass. There's pretty much a ski jump on the outside there as well.
No, they're very enticing, but as you get further off into the rumble strip, they just get more violent, and then you start dropping wheels, and it's just a concoction for something to go wrong.
That's it. Yeah, don't risk it. The risk reward is not there. 7 laps down, 5 laps remaining here in USF2000. Miles Rose pulled out to a lead, having hounded Billy Fraser on the 2 consecutive restarts, this time able to make it work around the outside. Fraser tucking back into second. Denmark runs in third. Orlando, your point leader, in fourth. Christie runs fifth. Naveau sixth. 7th, 8th is Bajoy Garg and Jackson Lee. Nikki Hayes in ninth, and Christian Weir rounding out the top 10. There's some contact there. You saw a wing potentially jammed off coming into Canada corner, and that's just someone, Eric, overcooking it into Canada.
Once again, you get a little bit of impatient sitting behind somebody that is holding you up, and you've got that bit in your mouth. But in this situation, you've got to be very careful, especially coming to the inside of that 90-degree corner. That corner feels so much faster than it really is.
Indeed, and that, again, one of those unbelievably crucial corners. Jack, you can talk about this. We talk about the fact how important it is to be fast coming out of 14 on the straightaway, but you got to be quick coming out of Canada. That's what's going to lead for the speed on the front straightaway as well.
Well, and it doesn't look like it, but coming from Canada all the way into turn 14 is like a straightaway because you're flat there, so you can really use it to gain some time and then get a good run out of turn 14.
That's it, and 14 crucial to get the pass done down in turn number 1. The gap between first and second, that last time by with .628, so just over a half a second for Miles Rowe in the 22 over Billy Fraser. Rowe looking to try to win his 3rd race. Victories already at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg and Barber Motorsports Park, coming off a 3rd place finish on the Freedom 75 on the oval at Indianapolis Raceway Park. So Rowe, just like D'Orlando, trying to mount some momentum going into the second half of the season. And for any driver here as well, Eric, we're talking 2 races here. They'll run again this afternoon. Success in race number 1 is just going to breed the confidence for success in race number 2.
Not only driver in car, but team in driver in car too. So we talked quite a bit about that in the practice session. Michael D'Orlando, though, seems to be getting a little bit anxious out of the exit of 5. The last 2 times now, he's kind of filled Jace Denmark's mirrors with that white car and just trying to pull out a little bit into 6, just trying to get into Jace's head here as we come to the final 3 laps to go at the stripe.
One of the great battles I'm watching here as well is between Jacob Douglas and the number 90 for Exclusive Autosport, putting a ton of pressure on Nikki Hayes. Douglas, the New Zealander, did not qualify particularly well, but once he got into this race, he has put his head down, and I think he has potentially moved into the top 10. Jacob Douglas, what a great drive for the Exclusive Autosport pilot, trying to work his way from the tail of the field into the top 10.
This is like Jack said earlier, this is one of those tracks where you feel a little bit more comfortable coming from a couple rows back because it is such a long racetrack and you've got 14 turns to be able to get it done.
Yeah, there's a big passing opportunity, and then there's always a lot of attrition here, it seems. One thing I wanted to point out is Jackson Lee's been doing a phenomenal job running up in the top 10.
Yeah, best we've seen. We got to pass to the lead. We'll come back to Jackson in a second. He's starting to put some pressure here on Bajoy Garg, but the leaders are going back at it. They have been able to reel in our leader, Miles Rowe. And look at this. It's Billy Fraser between a couple of Pabst cars. Michael D'Orlando right there as well. 3 laps remaining, and we have turned the heat up here on USF2000. Rowe the leader. There is Billy Fraser. Jace Denmark in the 23 trying to come down the inside into turn number 5. The fight on for the race win. Just a couple of laps still remaining. Fraser down the bottom. Fraser's on the outside, rather. It is Denmark on the inside. Fraser trying to get a better run up. Here goes potentially 3 wide.
3 laps in a row now. Michael D'Orlando is just filling mirrors of the car in front of him to the inside, going up the hill into turn 6.
Jace Denmark finishing the pass on Billy Fraser, so he'll go into second. Fraser back to third. D'Orlando was thinking 3 wide coming up the hill. He'll look to the bottom now, coming into turn number 8. That's a strong move to the bottom. Waiting for the shot on the exit of that corner. Was there contact? There may have been. Yeah, D'Orlando might have went back. Oh, D'Orlando's around. I think that's D'Orlando potentially around coming out of turn number 8, or 7 rather. Oh, that's 8. Hurry downs. He threw that car in the bottom of turn number 8.
That was definitely an aggressive deep dive.
Yeah, and somehow Billy Fraser came out without damage. I was kind of expecting the camera to come over and to see 2 cars involved. I think that might have been your point leader, Michael D'Orlando, going around in 8, because you saw him take a big dive down the bottom. And Eric, mindset, right? Drivers are always saying that I just want to win races. I'll let the championship take care of itself. He comes in here with a 17-point lead, was running P4. Yeah, the guy right behind him was leading the way, but he could have sat back and waited for that battle in front of him to potentially come to a head. If he indeed has fallen to the tail of the field, that's a championship hit.
Well, not only that, but we talked about that 5-pound weight you carry to the gym, and you carry it around for 4 hours. You always kind of tell yourself, we're just going to let the points fall where they are. But as the season progresses, that weight gets heavier and heavier and heavier. And I think you're starting to see that pressure that D'Orlando's putting on himself, that I've got to capitalize and make points. And the guy I'm racing with is gaining points on me right now because I'm stuck here. And that causes a little bit of an anxiety. And he's forcing himself into a mistake. You've got to control the chaos a little bit. And that, to me, that certainly means that, for me, he's kind of trying to do the math in his head.
Yeah, there was a lot of open. It was open area down to the bottom. Like right,
the door was open.
It was wide. Yeah. And again, Fraser's on the outside. He's trying to make a good run through there. Threw it down the bottom. I'm looking forward to seeing some video on that one later on. But what this has done is shaken things up quite a bit in the top 10. Move Miles Rowe to the lead, as we said already. We're going to fight in our hands between these 2 Pabst cars because they're essentially locked and loaded. Billy Fraser had to check up big time there, so he's got Dylan Christie behind him. They're going to see if they can't reel in the front-running Pabst cars, but they're going to run together until the final lap. So it's Fraser and Christie 3rd and 4th. 5th now is Jackson Lee. Obviously, a good friend here from Jack William Miller. I saw the video, you guys out karting at Newcastle Motorsports Park. That made me happy. I know you guys are good buddies out at Newcastle running karts. Jackson's having a great run here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him do so well. He had some struggles at the beginning of the season, but now you can see he's really coming into form, running in the top 5. And from his standpoint, he's wanting those guys in front of him to start battling.
Exactly that. Yeah. And he's actually getting some really good speed. Last time by, Lee working his way up. He was about 7/10 quicker on the last lap than Dylan Christie. So potentially closing his way up for a shot to battle with Fraser and Christie.
Local yellow down in 12.
Okay. Not sure what happened down in Canada corner, but again, winding down here. White flag will fly this time by. 1 more lap to go between the 2 Pabst cars. Rowe versus Denmark. Fraser now runs in 3rd. Christie 4th. Lee 5th. Naveau 6th. Garg 7th. Weir 8th. Jacob Douglas up into 9th from the tail of the field. P9 for Douglas. Spike Kohlbecker into the top 10 as well. Here we go, side by side. The Pabst cars are going to go side by side into turn 1. Who's going to take it, Rowe or Denmark? Down to the bottom, I believe that's Denmark, I believe, through to take over the lead. So the 2 very identical livery cars, 1-2. Denmark goes to the bottom. He'll take the lead down to turn 3. Rowe will want this win as well. Got a chance to reel up on D'Orlando, but remember, Denmark back P5, 32 points back coming in. A big point score here would be huge for Jace Denmark as well. Fraser hoping they keep battle. So does Dylan Christie. So does Jackson Lee. He wants these leaders to dice it out down into turn number 5. Again, clean through. I believe that is Denmark with the lead. Fraser, his gearbox being hounded by Christie. Back up the hill. Dylan Christie looking for his first podium. Fraser running strongly there in 3rd spot. But again, Christie right there. Here comes Jackson Lee up. Garg, Naveau, Weir, all right there as well. But what's going to happen between these two Pabst cars? Hard to pick up whether it's Rowe or Denmark in the lead right now. I can't figure it out myself. They're almost exactly the same livery. I think it's Denmark P1.
Believe it's red wing plates, so that would be Denmark in the 23 machine.
Okay, Chase Denmark, the little weave coming out of the carousel through the kink, keep her flat. Billy Fraser has a little bit of a gap. Hey, Miller, look at Jackson. He's coming. Jackson Lee is closing up here on Dylan Christie for P4. Hey, maybe you move down into Canada for Jackson Lee, but still not done for the Pabst racing cars. Pabst right there. Lee not close enough. It'll be a drag race to the line. Who's going to win it here in the opening race of 2 for USF2000? Out of Billy Mitchell Bend. One of the Pabst cars is going to the top of the box. Out of 14. Chase Denmark, we believe, ahead of Miles Rowe. But the drag race up the hill, always crucial. Try to break that draft. Looking good so far. Top of the hill. To the line to see who's going to win it here. Not close enough as they come across the line to wrap things up. Chase Denmark, the winner at Road America in race number 1 of the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Denmark wins by 0.3 of a second in a Pabst Racing 1-2. Billy Fraser ends up in 3rd. Dylan Christie in 4th. Jackson Lee, best run of the year to P5. Thomas Naveau 6th. Bejoy Garg 7th. Christian Weir 8th. Jacob Douglas from last up into 9th. What a great run for Douglas. Actually started 19th, and he goes up 10 spots to 9th position. And Spike Kohlbecker rounding out the top 10. Both of the turn 3 cars that started deeper in the field on row 8 find themselves up in the top 10.
You know, and with Jace Denmark, he led many of the test sessions on the Thursday test day, but in practice, he was kind of just missing at the front a little bit. He didn't have a whole lot of pace. They were just kind of doing their thing. Not a surprise. Those guys at Pabst Racing know their stuff around this joint.
Wow, I'm telling you, to be able to work to the forefront like they did. Rowe, of course, able to take the lead from Fraser on the restart. Jace Denmark dialing it in as well. Those guys are friends under the paddock, but again, when you put the helmet, the visor down, Jack, you're going racing, right?
Yeah, nobody's your friend out there when the green flag drops.
Jack, I appreciate it. We got to go to Victory Lane. Thank you so much for joining us up here, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to doing it again sometime.
There you go. Jack William Miller, folks, is going to start 7th inside of row number 4 when we go Indy Pro 2000 racing a little later on here this morning. Eric, I got to hightail it over to Victory Lane. We've got 3 drivers who are going to be pretty excited to be there today.
Pretty excited. I'm sure Pabst Racing going to be even more excited here from Victory Lane at Road America. The USF 2000 Cooper Tires Championship Podium celebration up next here from Road America. And then, of course, we've got our next session, Indy Lights qualifying, coming up at the top of the 12 o'clock hour.
Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com.
It's your Uncle Cooper. Your SUV is a multi-purpose tool, like a corkscrew fish scaler. And that means your tires should be multi-purpose too. Like these Cooper rugged Treks. They're tough, but also run smooth as butter. And with dual sidewalls, it's like having a multi-tool that can look like a completely different multi-tool. Don't take that idea, by the way. I'm gonna patent it. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience. maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.
So I grab the wheel and drive. There's no time to compromise. Gonna leave you all behind. Now I check my vital signs. Yes, I do believe I'm still alive. So if you're with me, if you are alive, you gotta grab the wheel and drive. If you're with me, if you're ready to fly, grab the wheel and drive. If you're with me, if you are alive. Grab the wheel and drive. If you're with me, if you're ready to fly, grab the wheel and drive. Grab the wheel and drive. The wheel and drive. The wheel and drive. The wheel There's no time to fall behind. Racing faster than my mind. Now I check my vital signs. Yes, I do believe I'm still alive. So if you're with me, if you are alive, you gotta grab. If you're ready to fly, grab the wheel and drive. If you're with me, if you are alive, you gotta grab the wheel and drive. If you're with me, if you're ready to fly, grab the wheel and drive. The wheel and drive. Grab the wheel and drive. The wheel and drive. Grab the wheel and drive.
All right, race fans, it's going to be a fun time. Let's send it down to Rob Howden in Victory Lane.
Thank you so much, Eric, indeed, down here in Victory Lane as we get set to go to award the trophies for the drivers in the Cooper Tires Grand Prix of Road America, powered by Elite Engines. We have guests from Elite Engines who will help us pass out some awards. A pretty solid race there in USF2000. Man, the last couple of laps were pretty epic. Let's start with the driver coming home in third place today. For Exclusive Autosport, put your hands together for Billy Fraser. And to give Billy his award, Kristen, come on in here, please, and give us a hand here. Kristen Hagopian, going to help us out. Hagopian, pardon me. Kristen Hagopian. I got it right at the second one again, didn't I? Billy Fraser, great run for him again. We'll be back. We're going to do this again, folks, this afternoon. One more time for USF2000. How about the driver coming home in second spot right now? He was the second place in points coming in. He's going to close up on the point leader. P2 today for Pabst Racing, Miles Rowe. Miles Rowe. Paige Gunning will present the second place trophy to Miles. Thank you, Paige. There are tracks that we go through throughout the season where some teams have maybe a more special meaning. They're attached to that racetrack. This is one of those tracks. Pabst Racing, located in nearby Oconomowoc. They always want to do well here. Pabst Racing 1-2 today in USF 2000. A round of applause for my winner today, Jace Denmark. Jace, you know how important it is to win any race in USF 2000 in a championship where you're trying to win a scholarship, but Pabst Racing would want to win here. 1-2, big for Augie and the team.
Right, hometown win feels great for us. I mean, it's so hard to race your team at a track like this, and the stakes so high speed and everything, but I'm glad that we got together cleanly, you know.
A pretty solid pass for the lead, then he chased you the rest of the time. You said it is so hard to race your teammate, especially in the last lap, going for that race win. You got to give just a little bit extra room.
Right, it's a super high pressure situation, especially for everyone watching on the pit wall for the team. High speed down into turn one pass is just nerve-wracking for everyone.
Who do you want to thank today?
Just everyone who's got me here, my parents, family, all the team, Miles, of course, just everyone that goes into the car.
Congratulations. One more time, round of applause. What a run there for Jace Denmark. And let's bring that first place trophy in here as well. Hannah Zolweg presenting the P1 trophy. Jace won the first race of the year at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, and his P5 coming into the points. A victory here today, going to tighten up that top 5. Miles, as we said, having a great run. Billy Fraser as well. Trouble for our point leader, Michael D'Orlando. He goes to the tail of the field. Everything tightening up here in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship. Not much time for these drivers to break, obviously, as we're back at it this afternoon with another race. Both of the events of the doubleheader here at Road America. Yeah, big round of applause. These are the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series right here. This is where Kyle Kirkwood was just a couple of years ago. And he'll, of course, be racing this weekend with Foyt. Tremendous talent here in USF 2000 this year. A couple of very quick Americans. And, of course, the New Zealander Billy Fraser having a strong season this year as well for Exclusive Autosport. I love the fact that we're going to press the reset button, restack them, and do it all over again this afternoon. We have Indy Pro 2000 coming up as well. 3 Road to Indy races in total on the schedule for today. And then those of you who are trackside here early tomorrow morning, have a nice morning coffee, and we'll fire up Indy Pro 2000 as well for the final event of their doubleheader weekend here at Road America. One of the favorite stops on the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires. Such a challenging racetrack, as we talked about throughout the show. Long straightaways, and of course, all those hard-braking corners. Great opportunity to overtake. And again, I think for the drivers, that's what makes it so special to be able to win here at an iconic facility like Road America. You want to put your name in the history books here in Elkhart Lake. And to kick off our weekend, Jace Denmark, the newest name in the history books. And again, as I said before, what a tremendous way to start the day for Pabst Racing, the legendary name here at Road America. Being able to get P1 and P2 after what was a very hectic race. They could have finished 3rd and 4th as well. That's how tight it was up front, but they ended up working their way to the front. And as Jace Denmark said, it is so hard to race a teammate for a win like that. You don't want to take each other out. That would be the ultimate no-no from the team. And they were able to somehow bring it home. And again, super tightening up the top 5 in points. Jace winning 5th in the points coming in. He was 32 points back. Man, he is with 30 points for a race win. There's going to be an opportunity for him potentially to get up there into the top 3, top 4. It is a tight championship chase. Billy Fraser doing the same thing. He'll work his way up. Super tight up top. So as we do, we'll wrap things up here for the podium presentation, the traditional spraying of the champagne. These guys have to wear their suits again later on today, so I wouldn't suggest dousing each other down in this one. But guys, we are done. Let's celebrate this success, to celebrate the win for Jace Denmark, the champagne spray. Let it rip, boys. And that caps things off here on the Road to Indy TV broadcast. Those of you tuning in at home who are not lucky enough to be trackside here, make sure you come back in a couple of hours. We're getting set to go for the Indy Pro 2000. That show will go Indy Pro, roll right into the second running for USF2000. A lot of great Road to Indy action for you this afternoon to get the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series. Big thank you to Jack William Miller for joining us up in the booth. And as always, great to work with Eric Miller here as well. Those of you tuning in live, we'll see you again later on.